Tēnā koutou katoa. My name is Point Man. I'm the chairperson of the local community board. Let me open with our karakia. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga. Kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai. E hii aki ana te akupura, i tio i hoka, te hauhu, tihei, mauri ora. So I'm the chairperson of the Waitai Community Board, which covers this area, Linwood Ward, plus Coastal and Burwood Ward, so that's pretty much the entire east side of Christchurch. And I'm sorry that we are all here tonight. I think it's only fair to acknowledge that we shouldn't have to be, that it's not good enough, and that it is just totally unfair that the neighbours of the plant and the wider city have to go through this. And this is my community. I live down the road in Radley Street, and I work in Wainoni, and until I got the scar, fresh from surgery, I did judo in Bromley. And my barometer for how bad the stench is that if I open my toilet window and it smells worse, then I know that something is wrong. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who's had that experience, and it's pretty unpleasant to say the least. Tonight we're going to hear from the Mayor, Phil Major, and the CEO, Mary Richardson, and her staff. And then I will facilitate a Q&A for local residents so that you can get the answers to your questions that you have. And throughout this time this evening, I just want to ask that everything that is said, you can be passionate, you can be angry, you can express frustration, be honest, that's all good, but just do it in a way that is respectful and that we can all be proud of in the morning. Because we want to deal with problems, but we want to do it in a respectful way. And before I hand over to the Mayor, I just want to point that if you need to go to the toilet, there's toilets out this way, and Raya can point you the right way. Run for Raya from Bromley Community Centre. Which way is the toilet, Raya? Just down this way. And if you need to, if there's an earthquake or something, then the exits are very clearly labelled. So without further ado, here's the Mayor for Major.
Thank you, Paul. I'll stand right here, so I'm
Using the chair, not having the apology, and I'm wondering if there is an apology from the CEO and the chair of ECAN.
We do, I believe, and thanks for reminding me, we do have a few people from ECAN here. So representatives from ECAN, can you please put your hands up? So here we have staff and one of the local councillors from ECAN. We do have other elected representatives here too. So we have community board members and councillors. If you could put your hands up, just so everybody knows. So there's most of the Waitai board. You've got your local councillor Yarn Johansson, and you've got Nathaniel, who's Jardine, who's the new councillor for Heathcote, and we've got Mark Peters down there, who's the councillor for Hornby.
But my point, sir, is that the CEO and the chair of ECAN are very important people. They are their responsibility in this is paramount up the top. They should be here.
Well, that's noted, and we can't do anything about that now, so we do need to keep moving. So, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much. Tēnā koutou katoa and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today for this update. I really appreciate you taking the time out on relatively short notice. First and foremost, I want to apologise and acknowledge what you're going through. The council has amped up our processes now so that in the future we can let you know earlier if there's an increased chance of odour. I can't promise we'll always get it right, but we'll certainly do our best and better than we've done to date. I want to also acknowledge that it's been a long road since the fire 5 years ago, and I recognise the hardship it's caused, especially for those residents living so close. One thing that's paramount is the well-being of you, and it's fine for me to stand up here and say technical this and technical that, but it's important that we recognise this problem affects people differently. And to that end, we will be setting up a community response group, which you'll hear a bit more about later. In my view, it took far too long between the fire, the decision to demolish it, and the change to activated sludge.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we had to work with insurers and the company that caused the fire, who were all pointing fingers at each other, and that caused significant delays. And until it's built, we're working on a knife edge, which you'll hear more about as well. I understand it's working at around about 105%. There is no redundancy. We can't have hiccups like we've just had, otherwise we'll be in the same boat. We've got to keep going so we can ensure we can keep flushing our toilets and stuff like that, because it's all very well to say no more. What hell are we going to do then? So we can't shut it. So unfortunately, the plant is very susceptible at the moment. It's susceptible to a number of factors. When there is significant rainfall, or not enough sun, or one of the aerators, that 16, I think, might be 18 of them now, that run 24/7, if one of those breaks down, it just clicks it the other way. And occasionally they do break down. And when all the holes in the cheese line up, that's when we get the problem we've got. To be clear, it is a very temporary system, and the guys have done a fantastic job down there to patch up what we had to get it going for as long as it has. As you're aware, we're using a jet boat now to help raise oxygen levels in the pond. And different to what Don Gould's got online, I am not water skiing behind a jet boat that's being towed by Victoria Hemstock. But we're also dosing the ponds with hydrogen peroxide, so that make a difference as well. Alongside that, the work on the rebuild of the plant has started, and they're working 6 days a week. Our decision to go with activated sludge rather than building back to the old standard was absolutely the right decision. We got $85 million from the insurance company to do this, and we had to put an extra number of millions of dollars in to go towards it, which make it far better. But it will mean we're building back better. And I remember talking to Paul a long time ago, how Mangere in Auckland had this problem, and then they put activated sludge in, and the problem went away, and then people started moving back. So, where are we? The result, it works. So it does work in Mangere, so it will work here. The result will be worth it, but I understand the waiting is unpleasant. I want to also address the issue of vibration I talked about at the council meeting today. Some people think that the building of the new plant is going to cause massive vibration. The only vibration that will happen is the 1,400 stone columns that are going to be put in the ground to make the new system earthquake resilient. That will take about 2.5, we'll say 3 months of vibration putting it down. Other than that, it's just building a building. So there's not 2 years of vibration that some of you may think. It's just for a short time. So we've got to make sure that it stands up in case something bad happens. I just wanted to clarify that point. Now I'm going to hand over to the experts who will talk you through what's happening in a lot more detail. And after that, our staff and me or anyone will be happy to answer any questions you have. So thank you once again for taking the time out of your day to be here. And I'll hand over to Gavin. And once again, I'm really sorry that we find ourselves in the situation we're in. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Gavin Hutchison, Head of Three Waters. I'm here today with Adam Toos as our Operations Manager. So I'm just going to give you an overview where the current state of the new project to build activated sludge and some of the work we're doing in the background to try to improve the situation. So firstly, on behalf of the staff, it's certainly sorry this has occurred. The current plant that we have, which is temporary, is, as the Mayor pointed out, is running at capacity. The ponds, unfortunately, have 3 of them have fallen over, which we call, they've got no oxygen, so that's the cause of the odours. We're working hard to reinstate those, and Adam will take you through a bit more detail on those. So the activated sludge plant, we are commissioning that in late 2027, and that commission will go through to early 2028. So we've still got a long way to go before the new plant is operational. So that clearly shows that to avoid these situations happening again and improve what has happened over time is we need to put more resilience into those ponds. Those ponds traditionally haven't been required for treatment. They're taking quite a large load from the plant So we are looking to put more mechanical aerators into the ponds to beef up so this doesn't occur again. Over the next 8 years, we do have a total of 280 million investment into the wastewater treatment plant. So it's not just the activated sludge. We're upgrading and renewing a large components from the how we handle the sludge through to how we dry the sludge and biogas. So it's a good investment. It's a large project, but the focus at the moment is to get these ponds healthy so they're not causing any further odours. And most importantly, to stop this happening again. So I'd like to hand over to Adam, who'll take you through some more of the detail.
Thank you, Gavin. Yes, just like to again pass on my apologies for the situation that we find ourselves in. I do feel for everything that's going on, and I hope that we do get there soon. What I'd just like to do is just take you through the events that led us up to where we are today with the recent odour event and what we've got in place to try and prevent that happening again. So what I'll just run through is some of the background, a timeline, our preliminary understanding for the cause of the odour event that occurred last week, and what actions we are doing as an operations team to try and get us back on the steady keel and where we're going forward. So, very brief high-level overview. Back in November 21 was a trickling filter fire, which you can see from the photograph on the top right. In July 2022 was when we commissioned the temporary activated sludge plant. So that was using the existing assets that we had, the existing tanks, the existing pumps, the existing aerators to put the temporary activated sludge plant in, and that is still running. In April 2023, we added 16 aerators to Pond 1 to convert it from a maturation pond to an oxidation pond. Now, this is apologies for the technical details. The maturation ponds were there because they only used to do the disinfection. Because we lost the trickling filters and the temporary activated sludge plant was not sufficiently large enough, we put the aerators on Pond 1 to turn it into an oxidation pond to do some of the treatment for us. So, tiny little bit more background. The ponds were originally created in 1962 to provide the sewage treatment for the city before they were changed to maturation ponds when the main CWTP was built. And since November 21, the fundamental purpose of the ponds has reverted from those maturation ponds back to the oxidation ponds. So, staff are currently focusing on managing the current odour event. The odour mitigation plan that we have for 2025, we've updated that and we've made a new one for 2026. And my staff and myself have undertaken preliminary data collection to understand what caused the current event. But the key aspect that we need to acknowledge is that the ponds are a biological system. The same as the activated sludge plant, we rely on biology to do the wastewater treatment for us. So the two main factors that alter the pond health, so the odour did come from the pond health, sorry, thank you, is algae and dissolved oxygen are the main two factors. If the algae is nice and high, or the oxygen is nice and high, then the ponds are healthy and it doesn't result in the generation of any odours. So the two factors that are going to affect that is loading to the ponds and environmental factors. So loading to the ponds, so that's where we take all the sewage from the city and comes into the treatment plant. That can vary, that can go up and down. We also get load from the treatment plant onto the ponds. Again, a bit technical this. If the performance of the activated sludge plant varies a little bit, it can pass more load to the ponds. Or if we have to do maintenance activities where we have to shut parts of the plant down to do maintenance on it, that can also pass load to the ponds. The second is the environmental factors, which is the weather, temperature, rainfall, sunlight. It varies throughout the year, it can vary from day to day. So staff have collected all that data. I must stress that this is preliminary. None of this data has had the opportunity to be validated yet, and it's still going, and these are just our initial theories on what caused this odour event. So what we tried to do to try and prevent this happening again, we need to understand what happened. So what we've done is we've looked at what's been happening this summer and compare it to previous summers to try and rule out what happened. So most of the slide layout's the same. This is what happened this summer, this is what happened last summer, and this is what happened the summer before. So this is the loading that was going to the treatment plant. It showed that the amount of load going into the CWTP wasn't significantly different this year to it was previously. However, what we did have is we had a spike of load going into the treatment ponds, which you can see here. So this is just covering the time frame from October to January. And as you can see here on this date, on the 16th of January, we had almost doubling or tripling of the load that was going into the oxidation ponds, which we believe is one of the significant contributing factors to that. The reason why we believe that happened is the temporary activated treatment plant struggled a little bit. Over the Christmas period, a lot of trade, a lot of industry, they shut down, they cleaned the tanks. So what we see at the treatment plant is a sudden spike in load, and then a drop in load as there's no industry. And the temporary treatment plant just doesn't like that change in variation. The trickling filters were quite robust to it, whereas our temporary activated sludge plant is just not large enough. Thank you. The other one is the temperature of the ponds. So again, this is this summer, last summer and summer ago, and you can see the temperatures this year weren't significantly different to the year before. But So the temperature of the ponds, so the weather is slightly different. So this is taken from the Met Service website, starting from the 1st of January all the way through to the 1st of Feb. What we happened on the 7th to the 11th of February is a warm period. So you can see that the temperature up here is high 20s, low 30s. And then a couple of days later, the weather changed and the temperature dropped to 17 degrees. But also at night, the temperature dropped down to single figures, down at 5 degrees Celsius. This also coincided with a fairly significant wet weather event, and we believe this is one of the key fundamentals that caused the oxidation ponds to struggle. In terms of rainfall, as you saw from that last graph, this is this summer, last summer and 2 summers ago, and you can see this summer there was significantly more rain that arrived in this period that we hadn't experienced in previous years. And this was reflected in sustained higher flows through the treatment plant. So the ponds are experiencing more flow as it comes through. As you can see, the amount of flow coming through the ponds this year is higher than last year and the year before. In terms of sunlight, pretty consistent this year compared to last year, so we didn't really have that as a key factor. However, in terms of dissolved oxygen, like I say, if the ponds have got lots of dissolved oxygen, they're happy. It's when those dissolved oxygens drop, you start getting anaerobic conditions and they start getting the odogeneration. So, this summer, last summer, 2 summers ago, but this is the data from pond 1. So blue is pond 1, orange is pond 2, and green is pond 2B. So, as you can see from there, the greens and the orange aren't significantly different to the way that they were before. But what is key this year, in this event, is pond 1, the dissolved oxygen levels are very low. So what we believe happened is, with the higher load coming in, the weather fluctuation, it meant pond 1 and 2 struggled with low dissolved oxygen, and that meant they didn't treat as much, which resulted as more load passing through into ponds 2A and 2B. So if you pass more load to the ponds, it can affect the algae. The algae is there, it's a natural process. It's like a plant. If you have lots of nice food for it and you have lots of sunlight, it grows and it also generates oxygen. That oxygen is a dissolved oxygen level that we need in the ponds, which is good. And as you can see, from this summer, the pond algae levels have just been consistently lower where they were last year, and maybe slightly higher than they were 2 years ago. The one thing that you notice here is this year dissolved oxygen levels are low. We've had instances of odour, whereas last year there wasn't significant instances of odour over the summer, but that also coincided with high midge levels. So it's the midges that eat the algae as well, where you get the big midge population booms. So that's the summary of what we actually believed happened, and what we've done is we produced that 2026 odour mitigation action plan. We're about to share that with ECAN once it's finished drafting up today, tomorrow, and this is just a list of the actions. So for the oxidation ponds, we've got lots of actions that we need to work through. If it's in bold, it's activities that we're doing anyway in order to try and look at the ponds, make sure we control them to the best of our can. If it's not bold, those are the new ones that we're going to be doing and are picked up. So as you can see on the top line, We've got the ability to alter the flow paths through the ponds. So some ponds get higher load, some get lower load. We've got the ability to flex between them. So we've been doing that all the way through as best we can. Use of the jet boat, we haven't had to use it before, so that's gone in, so we've added that one in. Next one, increase monitoring the pond health indicators. Again, we were doing that anyway. The next one is hydrogen peroxide, which was touched on by one of my co-presenters. So that's due to arrive Thursday, and we're going to start dosing with hydrogen peroxide from Thursday. So lots of activities that we're already doing and going to be getting on with as well. This is the second half of that. So the first half is all the stuff we're going to do on the oxidation ponds. We're also going to be doing some other activities which cover across the rest of the site. Another activity for the oxidation ponds, which is a shorter medium term. We're also going to be doing some further work on the temporary activated sludge and further on the whole site. Again, if it's in bold, it's stuff we're already doing. Productivities we're already doing. So key takeaways and next steps, what we know. So the odour event is linked to biological pond health influenced by a combination of loading environmental conditions by a single failure. So as it was touched on by one of my colleagues, whole lines of slices of Swiss cheese and they just happen to line up. We just happen to have the wet conditions, we happen to have the algae levels go low, we happen to have the loading go high. What are we doing about it? We've got the odour mitigations in place, so some of those are already in. I'm going to be working on the others. All my staff are still focused on trying to work out how to get these ponds as back into the performance as they are and get them to be as stable as possible. We're continuing to look at all the data to try and understand what happened in this event and incorporate all those learnings into future odour management plans. So there will be the opportunity for questions afterwards. It is a balance of trying to get technical information through, but to try and interpret what happened. But thank you.
Thank you, Adam and Kevin. And I want to acknowledge that Adam and his team have to work in this as well to try and solve the problem. So, to running the wastewater treatment plant on duct tape and number 8 wire. I just want to thank you again for that, Adam, and to acknowledge that you're working in this and that, and some of you and your employees also live around here. So the next session we're having is a Q&A, and greetings to Councillor McDonald as well. Next session is a Q&A, so this is for locals, and by locals I mean people who live in Bromley or this side of Aranui, so this side of Pages Road. If there are other people here who have questions, I'll get to you in a second, ma'am. Other people who have questions, we'll try and get to those, but the priority is on locals and neighbours of the plant who have to put up with very high concentrations of hydrogen sulphide and other gases. And just want to remind you that this will be, make sure that we can be proud of the way we spoke to each other in the morning. And we will, if we do not answer your questions, we cannot answer questions, I should say. Someone will is there anybody here who will take notes and that people can approach to say, hey, my question wasn't answered?
Is the recording?
There is a recording, but and people may not necessarily want to also have their questions answered. So I'm going to point to Chris.
Gary, do you want to put your hand up?
What's Gary? So Gary, unpack this, stand up, Gary. Thank you, Gary. If you have a question that you don't want to ask publicly, or you feel your question wasn't adequately addressed, please talk to Gary afterwards, or you're welcome to come and talk to me or one of your other local elected representatives. Okay, so we have a question down here from the back. Ma'am, would you like the microphone? 4 questions. Are they related questions? Absolutely. Yes. Well, I'm going to come down to you so that everybody can hear.
Would you consider this level of air pollution and foul stench affecting residents acceptable?
Would you consider the level of stench acceptable?
Not at all.
Residents in Bromley and surrounding suburbs are regularly exposed to this air pollution. What actions would you expect to be taken if your own family was in this position?
Would you like to answer the rest of the questions and then we'll keep probably starting with the mayor to respond.
So
Okay, we'll come
So
back.
if it was our own families, we would expect the team at the plant would act immediately to, which is what we've tried to do. But to answer your question, what we would do if it was our families, we would expect the team at the plant to act immediately to try and reduce the odour, which they have done. What I would also expect, which we failed on this time, is to communicate immediately to let people know that the odour was expected to go up and how long we expected it to stay at that level. It wouldn't have made any difference, but it would mean that you knew.
Does council face if this foul stench was to continue for one more year? What consequences does council face if this foul stench was to continue for one more year?
To be clear, we don't expect the odour, the current odour to continue. That's why we're acting and putting these additions in place. We
So
expect,
nothing? Is that what you're saying? No consequences if this foul
no,
stench was
that's
to
not,
continue
that's
for one
not
year?
what we say. We say we are not expecting the odour to continue.
We all hope not. How much insurance settlement has been spent to date and on what?
So we'll just hold on a sec, we'll come to your question. Just please, if we want people's questions to be
I
answered,
don't actually what she said.
if we want people's questions to be answered, we need to have one person speaking at a time. We only have
That
one,
was me.
and other people were talking over you, ma'am, so
Oh, that's different.
we'll come back
How
to
much of the $85 million insurance settlement has been spent to date and on what?
you. So that's how much of the $85 million insurance settlement has been spent to date and on what?
Thank you.
I haven't got the exact numbers, but to date we've spent close to 20 million. I can get the details on what that's been spent on, but it's all been spent on the fire-related work.
Fire-related work?
So that's obviously recovery after the fire. It's the work done to design to implement the temporary solution.
So $20 million has been spent and the problem is still a problem? Thank you.
All right, we have a question from Victoria over here.
I have a problem that we know when the rain comes, there is a problem. So we've got it in summer, so look out for winter, because we're not going to have any sun. So how is it that you guys can preempt the rain? You know, we've got weather forecasts, so that we don't have this coming again. Because
So-
this seems to be...
If I can paraphrase, we know that changes in weather conditions cause an increase in smell, and why is it that hasn't been predicted, and what's going to change?
Yeah, because, you know, you should know the weather patterns.
Yeah, sorry. So with the oxidation ponds, there's two main modes in which they operate. In summer, there's lots of biological activity in the ponds,
We know that.
and there's aerobic activity, which is the algae, which generates lots of dissolved oxygen, which is what failed in this event. And then there's lots of other bacteria that's breaking down it, which is anaerobic. But in summer, the algae sort of takes over, they win the battle, they have lots of dissolved oxygen, keeps it high. When it goes to winter,
In rainy season.
and the rainy
time.
season, the temperature is a lot colder, so the bacteria in the pond slows down, so the anaerobic bacteria is quite slow, but then there's also no algae, so it sort of goes into a settled state where it goes into. With the rain, sorry, with the rain that comes in, sometimes if there's lots and lots of rain, it goes through, it has like a flushing effect all through the treatment plant and it washes it out and there's no difficulties. The difficulty is just what happened here with all those instances lining up. So just because it's going to rain doesn't necessarily mean it's going to result in an odour.
So my understanding of what Adam just said is that there are two phases that the plant operates well in. The summer and winter phase. It's when it smells, it's in a transition. And when you get rapid changes in temperature and other environmental things, that'll smell. And that doesn't usually happen to the degree it's happened this year. Is that correct? Yeah. So that's pretty much a summary. Okay, more questions? You, sir.
Hi, so I live 200 metres from the boundary on Carter's Road. and we essentially have a fog, like gas, sitting over us. To me, this is as much as a construction issue as it is an environmental health emergency. What are you doing to the people who are suffering? I have headaches every day, I feel sick every day. My daughter goes to bed with a bucket because she feels sick. My son has sinus problems. We have people in our neighbourhood who have dizziness, light sensitivity. This is bigger than, and it's great to have all these updates, but all the updates don't tell us what you're going to do to the people who are suffering physically. There was the comments last week saying, oh, you can get a mental health sort of check-up. It doesn't do anything. There's people physically suffering in our community, and there wasn't one post out about that. All your posts, although great, said a lot of stuff without saying anything to anybody.
So to summarise, what is the council going to do to help with the physical health effects of the people who are living close to the plant?
So we are, the mayor, councillors and community boards have asked us to actually form a team that can actually, interagency team that can look at what mediations and what things we can put in place. That team has been formed, and we're going to be working with other agencies to be able to actually work out what options and what are the best options. And we expect to be able to come back with those quite rapidly.
Does that include financial as well? Because we'll need to pay for the health costs.
That's something that will be in the mix. But
kids.
yeah.
Can I just add on, will that involve testing around the community to see how far these gases and other things are spreading throughout and how many people are affected?
We can get that done.
So the community is regularly tested and like at a wider radius than just the boundary of the treatment plant.
We do have 5 monitors spread around the plant that monitor the gases that we look at daily.
And for those people asking about, so Mary said that the financial stuff would be in the mix, but for those people who are struggling financially with medical and related needs, I do encourage you to talk to Gary and have that noted down specifically. So otherwise we won't be able to get back to you, or the council won't be able to get back to you, and there may be some assistance available through other mechanisms in the short term.
Can I be really clear about that? When I said it'll be in the mix, it'll be in the mix of things that we'll be looking at. We are not this evening making a commitment to, we want to know what the best options are, look at those, and so then mix it. So I'm not committing to financial assistance tonight.
Yes.
We will need to get council approval of everything.
Yeah, and there are various, and so I'm community board chair, we don't have a large budget or anything. I'm just saying that there's potential because that you can be pointed towards other ways of getting assistance.
How come it takes 4 years to build a massive stadium when it takes 5 years to fix our problem? So the stadium brings in revenue for what? The whole Christchurch, but you can't fix the food problem. So it's the question that a lot of people have asked me to ask. So I'll ask it.
So in case not everybody heard, Johnny's asked how come it takes 4 years to build a massive stadium and 5 years to build a wastewater treatment plant, which is the question I've seen.
It's actually more than 5 years. It's 5 years today.
The stadium has actually taken 15 years to do, far too long, I might say. Now, you've got to remember that, as Gavin said before, the activated sludge thing will be finished by the end of 2027, which is not that far away. The other stuff is the box, right, the box that's going to flow all the air into it for the activated sludge will be finished by the end of 27. Is that right here? There is then a lot of work. We've got this Rolls Royce box, but if we haven't got all the other downstream stuff that makes the Rolls Royce box work as well as it should, there's a lot more money going to be spent, and probably 20, 30 million going to be spent on different parts of the wastewater treatment plant to make it flow better, for want of a better word. So it's not, the activated sludge plant will be finished in a couple of years. It took probably taken a year to design it, at least, get tender, all that sort of thing. Tenders come in, the guys are into it. but there is a lot of other stuff that has not been properly, that needs to be done to tie up with the activated sludge, because we've never had it before. So we've got to make sure, spend the money here, you've got to make sure it works all the way through.
Can I ask you a question Noel, before you go?
Can we, because you've already had a question, I want to make sure I get it around. Can you ask Phil, can you get that back to you? Yeah.
Someone's got to do it.
Yeah. We'll try and come back to you, but you're also welcome to approach Phil, but I'm sure he'll answer. I'll go to Bruce and then I'll come to you, Matt.
My question is, as Phil was saying before, the time frame that they've got here to get that plant finished is really quick compared with the composting plant that the crap have had to put up for that for 15 years. But that's not my question. My question is council planning. Back in the 1960s when the ponds were being built, I was living in Breezes Road, so I saw them being built. And at that stage, Christchurch had planned the second sewage farm at Hallsville. Now, there are not many people that know anything about that. About 20 odd years ago, I was told that by a Hallsville resident that the council sold off all the land they put aside for the sewage plant out there. So if we had another sewage plant in the Greater Christchurch, the problem here could be alleviated by diverting sewer to another plant. So we have 10-year plans put up by the City Council. I would say they may as well say they're 5-minute plans, because in the last 10 years, they've done nothing about upgrading the sewage.
Bruce, what's your question?
My question is, why did they stop building the second plant? And why haven't they upgraded the feed pipes that come from the Preston's area and stuff into the sewage farm? Those pipes were put in the early 60s. I can remember them being put in. So we're still putting probably
Bruce,
3 or 4 times the population through a same pipe.
The answer is that nobody here knows the answer, and so we'll have to come back to you. Right,
that's really strange. I've asked that 3 times at the CLG meeting, and I still haven't got the answer.
So Gary will note your question back, and we'll come back to you. So, Matt, you have a question?
Mine's a very simple question. The council is well known for not doing a damn thing until complaints come in. Why? And this is the same with this. This is huge. And as a community, it's not just the sewage, it has been the composting plant. So we've suffered for more than even 5 years.
15.
And I bought my house here before any of these problems, and now it's devalued. I still pay the same rate. Nobody wants to buy your house in this area. So why does it have to be complaints for action?
One of the things, a couple of things I'll answer. One of the things which I'll take on the chin, we'll take on the chin, is this event. Why did we wait till it was smelling and everyone's going berserk saying, ha ha ha? We should be looking at our figures, which we will look at more, and say, oh, the pond is a wee bit bad now, this is a month ago, this is a little bit worse now. Hello everyone, there's a chance that the way the numbers are tracking, we're going to be in trouble, and we need to front foot that, rather than us standing here, you guys dying in smell, and us saying, oh, I haven't got a problem. That's not fair, because we've got to front foot it if we can get the information put there. I'll just tell you a wee story about the OPP. Way back when I first became a councillor, it was decided that the buildings were knackered, and it was decided that we'd do them up, and it'd be 20 million to do it up. It came back at 40 million, and I said, why are we spending 40 million on something that only had about another 12 years resource consent left in its life? And I said, right, if we're going to spend this money and build a new one, we're better off to take it somewhere else. And that's what happened. I'm very proud of that it's gone. And this will be good when it's finished. So, and I'm very sorry that it's smelling, and we've just got to look at ways that we can let you know. Sadly, this problem could, I won't say it will, could happen again if all the holes in the cheese line up. Now, the guys have done, the way I look at it, we had all sorts of trouble after the fire. There's massive smell. And I'm not saying there hasn't been any odour since, but this is the first real big blow-up, so to speak, that we've had in the last 2 years. If we can keep things under control somehow, for the next 2 years, we'll be into the activated sludge thing. So, I'm working on it. So, yeah.
Can we just have one person speak at a time, and please, look, we need to keep it civil, and if you want to talk to each other, please go outside and talk to each other there. It's one person at a time. We're trying to get around as many people as possible. I do want to say about this question that Phil just addressed. Okay, right, man. This is that. Who can tell me what the best run city in the world was between 1993 and 2003? Multi-award winning. That was Christchurch. It was Christchurch City. And at that time, at the end of that time, we decided, the powers that be decided that we would. It's like imagine I am the council. The powers that be came along and they said, "Oh, you've got 2 arms. You don't need 2 arms. You've got 2 ears. You don't need 2 ears. You don't need kidneys. You don't need 2 kidneys. You can get rid of a kidney." Is that all that redundancy, the ability to respond to crises, was removed, and here we are with an issue that we are struggling to respond to, even though we knew it was pretty inevitable. The way that our local democracy has been removed to be cost efficient and not people efficient, to respond to the needs of numbers rather than the needs of human beings. That's a systemic problem that has happened at every level. And we can be the best government city in the world again. And this is a major lesson that I hope that we will be able to learn. And it's not good enough. We shouldn't be here tonight, but we are. So back to, ma'am, you've got a question down there?
Pretty much. I mean, I've been here my whole life, which is only like 30 years. But like, we haven't had these issues prior to this fire, which is fine. We're getting sorries about, oh, we're so sorry that this dramatic event's happened. Are you sorry for the past 5 years where it smells all of the time? That it hasn't smelled bad enough for the whole city to smell it now? You sorry? What about the elderly people? Like, is anyone actually going door knocking to very elderly people in this area, checking they're okay and their health? It's all good for me to get in my car, drive across town, take my dog away from the stench. What about the people that can't leave? Like, what are you actually doing for this community apart from sorry, and oh, we've got to spend 30 million. No one cares about the figures. People actually care when they're literally curled over for 3, 4, 5 days straight, nearly vomiting from coughing that much from the stench. People care they can't go outside, play with their kids, play with their dog, hand their washing out, open the bloody windows. It's like a third world country over here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not joking, like, this is actually ridiculous. I'm young and I'm healthy and I was like vomiting bloody blood the other day because I was coughing that much. What about someone who's 90 that can't leave? Like, honestly, what do you actually do? Ring the GP, ring the mental health. Why don't you foot the bill? If this was any other company, here's a $500,000 fine. Here's $1 million fine. And you're going, oh, the financials might not be in our budget. You should be forking out for every health issue in this area. It's been 5 years. And now you just give a shit because the whole city can smell it.
Yeah.
Honestly. Try argue it, mate. It's true.
Well, I don't think there's anything we can respond to tonight. Like, we've heard what you've said. We'll take it on board and we'll look at respond to that. We are looking at doing some door knocking very soon to just check in on people, and I've got a team to do that. But there's nothing to actually that will mitigate what you've said that I can say tonight. But we are going to look into this, and all we can do is apologise.
Well, I'm glad you've actually owned it. There's nothing you can say to mitigate it. Finally, someone trumped it.
Now, you've got to remember that 5 years ago, when the wastewater, when they caught fire, that was bad. It was real bad. But if it hadn't caught fire, we'd be stuck with those old aging trickle filters. So I shouldn't say it was lucky that it caught fire because you guys have been living in that smell. But if it hadn't caught fire, we wouldn't have got the insurance payout, and we're heading in the right direction. And I'm so sorry that you guys are bearing the brunt of the smell, but yeah, I'm sorry for that. But out of bad will come good. It is coming. It's like OPP, it's gone. This will be better, I promise you.
I'll come to you next. I will point out that at that end of that same time, when it was decided to lock all the arms and legs off, it was also decided not to upgrade the plant to the new style of plant like they have in Manukau City. And so, yes, this is partly a product of decisions made 20 years ago. But where we are now is a response to the fire. So we have to own and deal with that. Now, sir?
Question.
This one is aimed for Mary and the Mayor. With the current 2028 project that you have available right now, what accountability processes and penalties are in place for missed deadlines and poor performance by the council, contractors, tradies, everyone on this project?
So we'll get Gavin to answer that because he's managing the contract and he can go into the details about the penalties.
Yeah, so the contract will have liquidated damages if the contract is late. I can't recall what they are, but they'll be in many thousands a week for every week they are late.
And that's it.
That's the penalty on the contractor for the build of the new exploded sludge.
Was that funds going to us then, is it, the fine?
And there are discussions that, if I'm correct, to be having with the contractor to see if there are ways that, while minimising the impact on the neighbours, that construction might be able to be sped up. Now, I've got a question down the back there. Sir?
Yeah, you mentioned about how the algae dies off in winter time and stuff like that, so why hasn't there been any consideration for other biodiverse plants and organisms to be put in that are cold resistant in the ponds to help out with oxygenation?
Oh, I think that might be for you, Matt.
So with the oxidation ponds, when they were maturation ponds, the way they used to do the disinfection was sunlight, deposition and natural eating by the other bacteria in the ponds. In the summer you got the algae, and that's just where the biology changes. So in the summer you got the algae which provides the growth. There's no other plants or organisms we can put in that's going to last throughout the year that's going to provide to put oxygen in there. The exception is on pond 1 where we put those 17 aerators in to mechanically put the oxygen in the water to provide that level of treatment. So yeah, there's no plants or vegetations we can put in to replace that.
And we had another question. Sir, you've been very patient. Sorry. Hold on a second. Can we just have one at a time? At the back there?
Yeah, so my question is, you're saying this side of the Majors Road is where the problem sits and it's for locals only, but I'm sorry, Aranui's been dealing with this problem for the last 5 years as well, just as bad as Bromley, because I was only a resident in Bromley a year ago, and now a resident in Aranui, and it's just as bad over there, to the point where at 5:30 this morning I woke up to the stench of shit in my house.
Yep.
So why does it only sit with Bromley and not the rest of the community?
No, I'm sorry, if it wasn't clear, I wanted to start with the people closest to the plant and then move out. So, do you have another question that you would like to ask?
I want that one answered.
So, what can you repeat?
What about the trading communities that have affected from this problem? Bromley received $200 to give voucher for the problem to fix the problem. We can't be here washing outside. We can't open our windows in Aranui because it smells like shit.
That's right.
So, where's the rest of the accountability for the rest of the suburbs that are being affected?
So where is the accountability for the rest of the suburbs? And the east side like Aranui, and the other side, Majors Road 2, they're affected.
Before that's answered, can I just add, I ran a post on Facebook on Friday, and this isn't just eastern suburbs being affected. I've put a poll up today, and I've got people from Hallswell, Rickerton, from all across the city.
That's right. So, but the thing is that this is for the people in the wider area. So in this area, and I don't mean stuff. This is as you know, this has been an ongoing thing, and this is something that has been experienced by us a lot worse than elsewhere. This is a very temporary thing for people in the far distant reaches of the city.
It's temporary. I was trying to people in the city centre who don't like the to do anything to exempt because the city.
So all I'm saying is it's a lot worse for you and your neighbours than it is for everyone else. So, and I'm not wanting to diminish the experience of anybody further out. So,
saying it's worse and probably than it is in Aranui.
no, that's not what I was saying at all, sir. I was talking to him because he lives just over that way. So going back to your question, the response over here was that we can't address that question tonight. So if you can make that noted with Gary, we can get back to you, but we need to be able to have your contact details to do so. But it definitely is affecting areas other than here. I totally agree. Yes, and not disagreeing with you.
It just seems like all you gave a shit at the time was wrongly to keep them happy, but what about the rest? New South Brighton, Aranui, all down the other side of Pages Road, right round the back. Some are affected. You know, it's not just what you've called the people that are in the low decibel area. It's people with $1 million houses on the hills as well. But the rest of us have been forgotten.
And we've
got to deal with this.
Yeah.
So you acknowledge that, and we're not going to ignore it, but we do have to move on to the next question. So I had a question with you, sir.
Yes.
This guy first, and then we'll come back to you. You, sir?
I live in the area here, just over Reese's Road. My question is, this new plant that you're sorting out now, how many years do you believe that this plant will last? That's my first question. I'll just title it if I can. The second one is, we have that much building going on in the area, like in New Brighton, all these new buildings that are going up around the place. Everywhere you go, they've got, they've lined up the quarter acre section, they're putting 4 or 5 houses on. Yeah. My question to that is too, council, you're dishing out all these permits and that to build these new houses. I'm a retired builder, so I know a little bit about the building trade. The thing is, with all these new houses that are getting built, the infrastructure, is this plant going to cope with everything that's going to be? That's my question, that's all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, is this plant future-proof, is your question? Is it going to deal with increased density, population level, and is it already going to be future-proof, and is it going to deal with increased density?
Yeah, and is it going to, with all the new builds that are going on around here, is it going to handle that infrastructure that this plant is?
Right, I'll pass it on to Kevin.
There's 2 parts to answer that question. So it's a 50-year design, but it's been designed that we can add other sections to it to further increase in future years. So what we build today will accommodate for at least 50 years, but the design is allowed us to come put further units onto the end of the activated sludge plant to further increase in the future.
And it has been modelled for the population growth over the 50 years.
Yes, yeah.
And I believe there will also be capacity to add ultraviolet filters if we decide to do that in the future. Is that correct?
Yes.
There's space.
Can you hear? Is that all right now? So you sir in the back, and then you man over there. So sir.
Sorry, is there anybody, I know you can't fix the problem straight away, is there anybody actively monitoring future forecasts of what's going to happen so they can make a decision to do what they're going to do?
So you mean weather forecasts or?
No, projecting the forecast of what the weather's going to do. It's going to get a pile of rain. Is anybody actively monitoring that? So they can predict what's going to happen? So they can actually pull the pin and say, there's dark bombs or more headwinds of rain or whatever?
Yeah, we do actively monitor the weather for obviously 2 reasons. Obviously, because we also do flood protection and stormwater, and so that information is available to the operations team at the plant.
Can you guys override the environmentalists, the dump ponds, get through the sludge pipe, go out to the beach?
We haven't got the ability to get flow straight from the CWTP all the way to the ocean outfall. There's just physically no connection with it. It has to go through the ponds. The time it takes for flow going into the ponds to coming out is between 17 and 30 days. We have looked at that as one of the options to reduce the odour, is to lower the levels, to less retention time so the flow goes through quicker. The danger of that is if we drop it down, you expose sludge around the edges, and we've measured some of the gases that come off when you expose the sludges, and they're quite significant. So it's this balancing game of holding flow in the ponds so that it has time to do the treatment, and then constantly not get too low so it then generates odours as well. So it's a really difficult balancing game.
So why didn't you have the hydrogen peroxide ready?
Because we just didn't expect this lineup of incidents to come at the same time.
Just before we go to the question down here, as Adam said earlier, it's like all the worst case scenarios have all lined up to produce this, and so I guess they may have been able to predict in the worst case that this might happen, but you might call it the perfect shitstorm. Everything has gone wrong for us to be here tonight, but we know that it can happen now. And so hopefully that means that next time it looks like happening, we'll be prepared. Now Matt, down here.
So I've been one of the ones that have been set off and on over the last few years, so it's not just been this last month. But now, since I've heard what they're going to be doing in the drilling and the vibrations, now I'm worried about my house, because we're only a couple hundred metres away. What's going to happen with our houses if something's...
Have you heard from the contractors?
No.
Okay. So I think the easiest way of dealing with this is to talk to Gary, because the contractors, if you live very close, you should have heard from them, and they are being extraordinarily careful to make sure that the vibrations are not impacting your house. If they are impacting your house, you need to let them know. So if you can note that down with Gary over there, we'll deal with that. Unless there's some other aspect that I haven't covered off. Is that right? Okay. I had a question here, and then we'll have space for another couple of people who haven't already asked questions.
Going back to Vicky's statement about doing the hydrogen peroxide not sitting there waiting, and you're saying that we haven't had any idea that you needed that. The last 5 years, I know personally, from needing to have events at home, that this has been an issue every year over that time. It has always increased, especially around this week. I know that, it's my birthday. I can't have a birthday party at home. They've had to cancel Christmas every year. So you can't tell me that you haven't known that this wasn't something that could happen. There needed to be, there can't be an ambulance in the bottom of the hill. We need the preventative measures there.
This lady, she has experienced stench on every year since the fire on her birthday, and so wonders why we haven't seen this coming, and why the council hasn't seen it coming.
So this has been a bit of a lesson for us in the way that it is. Like I say, we've got the big lessons, all the actions we're going to do. We're going to increase the margin they're going to do, and going to increase the actions that we've got available to us. We've got the community monitors set up that are around there, and I just have to focus on those more and be more proactive as to what they've done. Like I say, we've got a list of actions, we're doing the majority of them, but we're going to be doing more proactive ones on top of that as well.
Your lessons are paid for, ours aren't.
What I'd like to see, I was very lucky, I went down there to see the contractors last week, and the guy took me into the box and I said, show us a plan, show me what you do, because I'm more of a reader of plans. The guy, another guy came in and he had a whole lot of stuff on his computer and showing us all on the screen. I feel there's value in, because where the contractors' offices are, one of them can be put out on that little car park beside it, and we could have days when you people can go through and have a look and see, because I see things better than reading them, and I can say, oh, there's a, that's what they're building, one of those. In essence, it's four massive, not five, massive swimming pools, big, like 6 metres deep, with a whole lot of flat fans blowing untold, some of the pipes are 1.4 metres diameter, untold air into what I call sunflowers all on the bottom of the pond, and it's just putting fizzy, foamy air, because that's how they get the oxygen. Is that right? Yeah. So, but I think there's a lot of merit in to be able to, don't overwhelm them, but be able to go in on Saturdays or something like that for a couple of hours and then see the stuff on the wall and say, this is the point where you can look at the window and you can see where they're up to, because it's easier to see it, in my view.
Apologies, I know I've had a question just on that point, creating a digital twin of the site. So rather than having every member of the community come visit the site, you create a digital version of it where you can have a 3D model of the whole entire site, ponds, levels, the whole thing, and then people can see what's being built, plus they can see accurate levels of detail as to what chemicals going in and everything.
As far as the design of the new bit goes, he's more or less got that now. You can go right around it and then it.
But you'll have an as-built of the existing ones, because you have to do models for taking down the old buildings.
Yes.
Because everyone can look at it. Yeah, I know I talked to Yanni before about creating a digital twin for the whole city.
So we've come to the how about 6? We can go for a little bit longer, but I'm wanting to see if anybody who hasn't asked a question already, who lives in the border east, has any questions. Ma'am, you haven't had a question before? You have?
I have a question that will affect immediate people. It's just about the construction. Is there going to be any type of enforcement or monitoring of heavy trucks pulling through here? Because as it is now, obviously that's already a bit of a problem, but when they're lugging in all the stuff to start building, is there any going to any watching or enforcing or cameras put up for these trucks that come hauling down here at 80, 90k an hour because it's an industrial area?
Are you talking about Maces Road in particular?
Maces Road, yeah, this whole road, and it affects not just the people on the actual road, it's down. So I'm just that then becomes a problem as well.
When I went and talked to this guy the other day, very roughly speaking, there's 12,000 metres of, I wouldn't say contaminated, sand that's going to be dug out. This is how it's going to work. Dig out 12,000 metres, it's already low in a few places. Dig out 12,000 metres, take away, slam all the 1,400 piles in, and then bring in roughly 8,000 metres of gravel in layers. And then after that, it'll be just concrete trucks coming in or steel trucks coming in. That'll be the end of the massive movements of stuff. So that's better. And of course, it's all very well saying they're heavy truck, any truck's heavy, but they're not allowed to be overweight for what they're allowed on the road. So they'll be no bigger. The frequency might be more, I agree with you there, but the frequency might be more, but they won't be overweight and damaging the road.
Yeah, but is there going to be enforcement issues watching them to make sure we're coming down here
So we,
at appropriate speed?
can we,
Rattling houses in the middle of the night, early in the morning.
So we're not going to be able to answer that comprehensively.
We can.
Okay.
Yeah, we will be monitoring. On the site, there's a lot of monitoring, like vibration sensors, dust sensors, but also the traffic movements. The team will be monitoring those, and I will check with the contractor to see what sensors they have on the trucks. A lot of contractors these days have speed recording, etc. So we'll speak to them and see if they have that.
Is there like a curfew on the?
Yeah, there is time limits on when working. Yeah, they're quite strict. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we're over time now, so I know that there's a couple of hands out at the moment, but I'm not going to take the questions because we need to respect everybody's time. We said we'd finish at 6:30. So if you do have questions that you want asked, please, again, I'm sorry to point to Gary again, but please go to Gary or come to one of your local elected representatives, or if you live outside this area, your local councillor. So could all the city councillors who are here, please put your hands up. City councillors. Yania Hansen, Celeste Donovan. All right. So thank you everybody. Thank you for coming.